All right, let's talk about Vic Fangio and what he did to Patrick Mahomes in this game. I mean, really, so obviously, as we know, the Chiefs ended up winning this football game, but if they didn't pull this victory off, we're all talking about this as a Vic Fangio masterclass and what happened to Patrick Mahomes. How were they only able to score 14 offensive points? Luckily, that was enough to win it in this one, but still, a lot of interesting stuff. Let's talk about, what went right for the Dolphins. And we'll also talk a bit about what went right for the Chiefs, the eventual winning team, how they were able to do enough to get the victory offensively. But yeah, let's start off with this play. This is a great play. And in fact, this is something really interesting that I think teams should start stealing, which is we know what Mahomes likes to do, right? He likes to go outside the pocket. If an edge rusher moves towards the inside, makes an inside move, he's almost instinctively going to go outside the pocket. But look at what the Dolphins are doing here, where they're going to have their edge rusher intentionally go towards the inside, and they're going to have actually a defensive tackle, not even the one closest towards that side of the field, run over and get in that area where Mahomes is going to run. And watch how well this works. I mean, Mahomes does, instinctively start to run outside the pocket, but now there's a Miami player who's in his face. This is not working the way that they wanted it to at all for Kansas City. As you see, Mahomes starts scrambling, but ends up getting sacked. And, also worth mentioning on that play, Kelsey was double teamed. There was another open receiver, but Mahomes just didn't have time to get over there. We're used to seeing Mahomes have 7 seconds before he ends up throwing an incompletion. This time, not that amount of time. Really clever concept that I do wonder if teams are going to start stealing. If I'm playing the Chiefs, absolutely, I'm going to start doing that against them. Heading over to something like this, I have to say, some questionable play calling by the Chiefs this season, I thought. Like something like this. So, this is the concept. They're going to have 2 receivers run deeper routes, and they're going to flip it to Kelsey underneath. That itself, fine play call, right? Get the ball in Kelsey's hands. It's the situation that makes it tough. That is where they have to get for the first down, and this is a third down. So third down, they have to get to the 49-yard line. So, running what's essentially a screen pass here, that's going to make things difficult. Watch as Mahomes is going to take the snap. He is going to, look towards Kelsey right here, who is obviously open underneath the coverage. But there's a player who's reading this. I think Miami did a great job of knowing that Kelsey is the number 1 option and treating him as a number 1 option. They did not treat him as just another tight end, which we weirdly see so many teams do. Miami knows 87 is different. Make sure you're covering 87. Make sure you know where 87 is on every play. You see a linebacker reads where 87 is. So Mahomes is going to flip it, but, Miami's all over it. They did not give up much there. So, it's one of those things where it's like, on one hand, I want to criticize Kansas City. On the other hand, these plays would often work, but this time they weren't. Miami was just ready for them. They really were. Going over here, some of it was just simple, good football by Miami, right? Like some of it's just good coverage. We have to, I'll talk about that as well. This is just zone coverage. The Chiefs have routes that typically can beat zone coverage on this play. However, watch as when Mahomes takes the snap, he is going to, look in. Really, it doesn't matter which direction he wants to look in. Not a lot is open right here. Now, there is a check down on the top of the screen that you could throw it to. That's probably what you would like to see him do. But Mahomes has a different idea, right? Mahomes is going to say, you know what? What does Mahomes do all the time? He scrambles. He uses his legs. However, watch how when he does that, Miami is, again, they're all over it. They're aware of it. And a guy ends up hitting Mahomes in the head. It looked unintentional, was not a flag. And I get why it wasn't. I mean, it's hard when a player slides at the last second there. But again, it's just getting in position to make a play and not letting Mahomes beat you with his legs, and also playing good coverage, not letting him beat you with his arm. If he can't beat you with his legs or his arm, he's probably not going to beat you. Although he still did in this game. Technically, they won the game. But you know what I mean. Going over to something like this is definitely something you still want to see if you're a Chiefs fan. They're just not hitting. They don't have a guy who can really win on these situations consistently. They just don't. Where what's going to happen is it's actually quarters coverage for Miami, but they're having a receiver run a deep route. Watch as Mahomes is going to take the snap. He is going to, eventually look down the field, and you see there's a bit of a window. And for Mahomes, with his deep ball, I mean, let's just be honest, he's going to take those chances, right? I mean, he can throw the ball a million miles down the field if he wants to. You see a bit of a window, he's going to try and take this chance. And when Mahomes does take this chance, they're not quite able to get that big completion. And, that was Sky Moore. He wasn't able to make anything happen. He wanted a flag, but I don't know. I mean, you got to get further down the field, I think. I don't think that was a flag, personally, from where I'm sitting. it's possible if you get a close up and have a extreme slow motion and stuff, you can see it. But the main point is they just don't have guys who are winning like this. I mean, it still is a bit too Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes dependent, which like a Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes dependent offense is still a really good offense, right? And going over here, we still saw some of that. That opening drive touchdown by Kansas City that looked so great. It was in part due to some of the, the threat of Travis Kelce, where I believe this is actually supposed to be quarters coverage right here for Miami. Kelce's route is the more underneath route, the shallower route. That's the one that he's running. You have a tight end. It looks a little bit odd, the route I showed. It almost looks like I have it as the right tackle running that route. But no, it's the tight end who's behind Kelce. He's the one running the route, not the right tackle. Jawan Taylor not running a route on this play. Watch as when Mahomes takes the snap, you see that right here. I mean, Kelce, well, he's completely covered, right? Hey, this is what Miami wanted to do. Make sure you cover Kelce. The corner on that side of the field has completely moved in to cover Kelce. However, because of that, look at that Kansas City player right there and how open he is. This is the threat of just what Kelce brings, and this is using Kelce to your benefit. And even if teams are going to be paying extra close attention to Kelce, that's not always a bad thing. As you see, Mahomes makes this throw, and they're able to pick up a big completion right there. And that's still good to see if you're a Chiefs fan. Like, listen, at the end of the day, if you're a Chiefs fan, the offensive, woes are, I don't want to say concerning, but I think you would probably like to see your offense be, going a little bit better, right? I mean, we're used to seeing this Chiefs offense just, light up the scoreboard every single week. And, one thing I've still always been making sure I mention is, like, EPA per play wise, this is still the 5th best offense in football right now. So it's definitely still a very good offense. It's just not quite the dominant Chiefs offense we're used to seeing. And it's also worth mentioning it's a team that, they've beaten up on some bad competition situations, but once they played better teams and better defenses, they haven't quite looked as good offensively, even though the Chiefs defense is legitimately awesome. And again, if you don't think the Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders, I don't know what you're thinking. Clearly, they are Super Bowl contenders, if not still favorites at this point. But just they're, again, expectations are different for them. At this point, they're, I don't know if you call it a dynasty or not, but they're at least fringe dynasty at this point. And if you're the team that's in the middle of a dynasty, every year that you don't win the championship is a disappointment. So because the standards are that high, we're seeing some games like this one where they're not living up to it. At the same time, though, the nice thing is you don't have to play, don't have to play Vic Fangio again this season unless you get to the playoffs. So, interesting stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're not looking great while winning, it's not the worst thing in the world. And their defense is looking great and winning. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.